So today's video, this is really part one of a two-part series, and there's a couple reasons behind that. It's a lot of information to share with you, but these are going to be covering a lot of those logistics that you need to know about prior to heading out for, say, long-term or even short-term travel. Just those things you need to get set up before you go.
Yeah, these are two questions. We're going to cover two things today, and we have gotten these two questions, I don't know, 50, 60 times in the last month alone.
Yeah,
a lot of new viewers.
Sometimes it's multiple a day on the same thing.
It's the same thing. So
yeah.
we're gonna nail it. We're gonna answer those questions today.
You are gonna know everything you need to know about it. So what we're going to be covering today is we're gonna cover how you handle your mail service when you are traveling, and then also how you're going to handle your phone service when you are traveling.
Right.
These are two huge things that you need to take care of before you hit the road.
And they're not as complicated as you might think. Step one with your mail. We're going to start with your mail. You're going to want to go paperless. You want to try and get rid of everything that you don't need. So check your mail. Go through your mail when you receive it and decide what it is that you really need and what you don't need. If you need it, I'll bet you can go online and you can get that paperless.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. We really started this process probably 3 months before we were starting traveling. And every piece of mail that came in, you know, you just look at it, it's like, okay, first off, do I need this? A lot of time you can do a cancel, or do I want to set this over, or is it an option to set it over for paperless delivery? Now, some of those things are not going to be paperless, or maybe you want those items to be a paper delivery, and so we'll kind of discuss that a little bit later, but eliminate it down. And you know, just by taking this step, we now have eliminated down to where we only get a couple pieces of mail, if a couple pieces, per month.
Right. And so what do? We have a couple options. We have a new option that we're going to share with you here in a few minutes. But what we've been doing this entire time is using family members. My mail goes to my mom and dad's. They have a basket, I call it my Brian basket, set in their kitchen for my mail. And I only get a few pieces, like Carrie just said, every month or so. So it's not that big of a deal, but I still don't want the responsibility on my parents.
Yeah. So if you have a friend or a family member where you can go ahead and change your address to have that go there. Once again, like we said, if you've cut it down to where there's only a couple pieces coming in, it's not too much of a problem then. Another option, if you're not traveling and going away too long, and say you're keeping the residence that you live in, have somebody go by and stop and pick up your mail. That's another option as well. Not as easy, and honestly, how much do you want to build up in a mailbox, or you always take that risk of something being taken out of your mailbox as well. So I think the other options are better as far as that goes. Now the next one that you can do, and once again, this is also for you have somebody that can go by and pick it up, or you're not going to be gone very long, and that is to do a P.O. box. But you know, the P.O. box comes with a lot of disadvantages. They're not incredibly cheap, and you are leaving your mail in a mailbox for however long you're gone, or how long until somebody picks it up. And do you really ever get to see what's in that mailbox until you get home?
Until you get home.
So what if there's something really important in there?
Yeah, and you know, you can always have your mail stopped if you're going for a couple weeks or 3 weeks or so. But even then, you're going to get a big bundle of mail at the end of it if you don't already go paperless.
Now we go on to the third option, and this option for us has been the newest addition since we've been home. We started it right before we got home, and we now go with a mail service. And you know, I always had heard about these, and we really never gave it a whole lot of thought because we were just using our parents. But now we have a few other things business-wise coming to a mailbox that we didn't want to have going to our parents' house. We didn't, like we
Not
said,
because we don't trust them.
No,
It's just
totally trust them.
Yeah.
We just didn't want to have them getting a bunch of stuff they had to deal with. Plus, there could potentially be, say, information come that you need to see what's inside that mail. So the mail service, we chose to go with the mail service they're really inexpensive. We're only paying it's like $8.99 a month or something for our mail service, which to me is pretty darn affordable for just peace of mind.
Yeah, that's what, 25 cents a day? Less than that.
Yeah. And so with that comes, but the package, we have the lowest package because we know we're not going to be getting much mail in there. But say they do a certain amount of documents where they will scan them. So first off, you're going to get picture of the front of the piece of mail that you got. They put that onto the website.
Right, it's on an app. You have an app that you use.
You can do an app, or you can go onto their website online, and you can see the picture of the front of the mail. And then you're going to be able to decide, is it a piece of junk mail that you can just have them shred, and you'll just tell them to shred it, and then they do that. And then, or you can have them open the piece of mail, and when they open it, what they're going to do is then scan the document and then email you that information. So you're going to get to see exactly what you got in the mail. A couple options at that point. You can then, after it's been opened and scanned, they will then shred it, or you can have the item sent to you or forwarded to an address. So you have a lot of different options there, because like we were saying, once again, there are certain things you need to keep the hard copy, so you may decide you want them to hold that for you or to forward it somewhere.
Right. You can also have that printed out wherever you're at in the world. There's printing stations just about anywhere.
Yeah.
And it costs you 20 cents maybe to have your document printed out.
Yeah.
If you're in Vietnam or someplace like that, if you need a hard copy.
We used to think that that was such a hard process to go and have something printed off, and we needed bus tickets done once. We're like, well, where are we going to find a place to go print bus tickets off? And then come to find out they're all over the place.
They're all over the place.
So it's really easy.
To get into Vietnam, we needed to get a visa, so we had it printed out. So if you need to have a document printed out and you're on the road, you can get the email, have it easily printed out.
Yeah. So that is the option that we've now currently gone with, or the couple things that we use. And as far as the mail service that we go through, if you do want to check that out, that link will be down below. We are going to talk about a couple of the different services that we now use, and any of that information is going to be in the description. You can also go to our website at brianandcarrietravels.com, and we will have that information also available on there as well.
All right, the next question that we've been getting a lot lately is your phone plan. How do you use phone service? What do you use? How does it work? If you're only going for a few weeks, you probably already know this. Stay on your own phone plan, whether it's AT&T or Verizon or T-Mobile, whichever one it is. Pay for the international plan. It's going to cost you quite a bit more, but it's going to work. It's going to do everything you need for it to do for as long as you're gone for. That's one option. That option is too expensive for us.
It is. We're on the road way too long for that. But that would be, I mean, we both have done that when we have traveled and we're gone 3 weeks. It does cost you a lot, but it's just easy.
Yeah.
So we have done that in the past. And what we have done for all of our travels up to this point, we have always just purchased a SIM card on arrival, which is really a super easy way to do it. You know, you arrive at an airport, you're going to buy a SIM as soon as you get there. We used to avoid buying the SIM at the airport because
we've learned, we've gotten better.
Yeah, well, we kept hearing from other people and reading blogs and stuff where it's just so expensive. Don't buy your SIM card at the airport.
They're not wrong.
They're not wrong,
but they're not right either.
Right. I mean, I think that the thing is that we were used to coming from paying, you know, $70, $80 for a cell phone plan.
Right.
And then we're talking about a SIM card being the difference of, say, paying $15 compared to $18.
Now, we did learn the hard way on this. We used to not buy our SIM card at the airport because we wanted to save $3 or $4. And we'd go to a kiosk or we'd go to the mall, wherever they sell these SIM cards at, and we'd forget our passport. They need your passport to sell you it. So now you got to go back to your accommodation, come back. We're not doing that anymore.
Hassle.
It's too much of a hassle, or they'd be sold out. We've run into that a few times as well.
Too. Yeah.
So we just get them at the airport, they plug it in, they do all the work for you, so you don't have to deal with anything. You leave the airport and you're connected.
Yeah, it really is just the easiest way to do it. We have learned certain things through our travels. We were such money savers right when we first started, and we still are, very budgeted. But there are certain areas where we are like, okay, it's worth a few extra dollars. And a couple of those are getting the SIM card, making sure we get some cash when we are at the airport. Sometimes you don't get the best exchange rate, right? But it's just easy. It's very easy, and you have some cash on hand. Once again, a little story. We arrived into Hanoi. We did not get cash when we left the airport, and we got into Hanoi, and we could not find a cash machine anywhere that would take any of our cards. We don't know what the problem was. We had no cash.
We found one. It took us about an hour and a half. We found one.
But that was the next day because we ended up having to go to a restaurant to eat because we didn't have cash to go and buy. We really want to try some of their street food. So we had to go to a sit down where they take our credit card. So there are certain things like that it just, honestly, it just is a time saver. and just eases your mind to just take care of them like that. Okay, so now on to the next option, and it has been something that was suggested to us by so many people on this last, say, 5 months that we were traveling.
Right.
Use eSIM.
It's 2023 now. Use eSIM. Well, it's 2024 now.
Yeah.
And
so while we were traveling, I checked with the carrier that I had used to go with. I was with Verizon, and they had told me, wait till you're back in the States and then come in and we'll see if we can get that turned on your phone for you. So I didn't hold any great hope out on that. I figured they might just be telling me what they wanted to tell me at the time. So we got home, and I hadn't gone into a store yet, but we'd only been home a few days or a day, and my phone starts doing all these updates because apparently it doesn't update when you're outside of the States. And I did a total of 12 updates. I've never seen a phone do that before, where it kept doing update after update. Anyways, on the 9th update, they got done, and then said that I had eSIM now.
Right.
And so I was so excited that I called Brian, because we were not together at this point. We were taking some alone time at this point.
She was getting away from me.
We had gone to visit our own families. And I was so excited that now we have eSIM. And being at home, I now had the opportunity where I wanted to try out this service and see if it's going to work for us going forward. And I will tell you, it is amazing. And what about just ease of use? I mean, it is so great.
Yeah, that's great for her. That's awesome. My phone didn't do any updates at all.
No.
So I tried to get it to do some updates, and they said there were no updates available. So I got online to see if my phone even qualified for the eSIM, and it just said your phone is too old, dummy. My phone's about 6 years old, so it does not take eSIM.
No.
But Carrie's got it. I'll continue doing the SIM card thing because I know how it works.
Yeah. So just to kind of give you a little bit of how the eSIM works, because I was quite unfamiliar with it, and it's kind of a new area for people. You are going to download an app for what service you go with. Once again, the service that we are going with is down below. And you can pick your plans. Now, what was kind of cool is that they have multiple ways to pick the plans. So for the first part, I picked, because we were in the United States, I just picked the plan that covers United States. And I paid $13 for 10 gigabytes of coverage. That's pretty incredible, considering when I was back home, before, like we were saying, we were paying, say, $70, $80, and I think I was only getting 3 gigabytes.
Yeah.
So anyway, that part is great. And then when you are traveling outside the States, so when we leave, we're going to be going to Ireland, then we're going to go to Turkey, and we're going to be in Greece. You have a couple options. You can choose to do a region. So for instance, in that one, I could just choose to cover Europe and buy a plan that way, or you can cover in each area that you're going to. So it really depends how long you're going to be in that area, and how long you're needing coverage for. But all kinds of different options, super easy to use.
I'll have to buy 3 SIM cards.
You'll have to
for
buy
each
3.
country.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah, and these don't have, it's eSIM, so there's no physical SIM that you're having to put into your phone, so it's just super easy to use.
Yeah, it's an electric SIM. I think that's why they call it eSIM. Now, the follow-up question we get to the phone service is, do you have to change your number? What numbers do you use? You get to keep your same number, but there is a trick.
There is. So the one thing that we would advise you doing, and what has worked for us, and kind of backtrack a little bit, when you were leaving to go travel, there are a lot of those questions where you really just don't have a clue how you even manage doing it. So when we first were looking at traveling full time, we thought we were going to have to communicate mainly on like WhatsApp. And so we had set all of that up, and we had given our information to our friends and family.
My parents were like,
What's WhatsApp? Yeah. And so we did use that a little bit. And then we had figured out Google Voice. And so we also had that set up. Now, you are going to, if you get rid of your service at home, which most of you are going to choose to do that, you are going to be potentially giving your phone number up that you've had for years and years.
Well, which nobody wants to do.
Nobody wants to do that.
No.
Yeah. So the next step that you want to do, and we really advise you do this before you are leaving. So these are all those prep things that you want to be doing before you start traveling, is get Google Voice. Now, Google Voice, cool thing about Google Voice, 100% free. You're not paying anything for it. Yeah. And so with Google Voice, what you can do is then you can choose to port your phone number with them. And the nice thing about Google Voice is that Google Voice is with you no matter what SIM card you put into your phone. So it's not going to change. You're not, because I know our family would ask that, like, which number do I text you on now? And it's like nothing changes.
Right. We confused them with the whole WhatsApp thing.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have said anything. They would have never known the difference.
Yeah. So set up your Google Voice. The other thing that I would advise you to do is set up a backup account as well. So you have another phone number, another account with them. And the reason that I advise you to do that is while we were traveling, something happened with my account and I was basically locked permanently out of it. Got in contact with them. There was nothing I could do. To get another account while I was out of country, I had to have my mom on the phone and they sent a code to her phone because it won't send it to like another Google Voice number. So I couldn't use a different number like Brian's to do it too. So anyways, I would just advise you set up your account, port your number, and then also set up a backup account. So you just have another phone number from your hometown. You get to pick another number. It's just a backup phone number. You don't have to use it unless you have to.
Right. Just to clarify, everybody, all your friends, all your family are going to call you and text you like they always would have.
Right.
From their end, it's the exact same number.
And where that comes into, that's also, so we'll kind of go into the next question we get a lot of, and it's a great question because it is something you are going to deal with probably almost on a daily basis when you're out of country, is using the dual factor authentication.
Right.
You are going to have your bank doing it. You're going to have multiple of your different websites that you go onto asking you these same questions. Now, where the banking is concerned, I wouldn't say it was the easiest path to get to where we are now. It took some bumps in the road.
Right.
It's not always 100% perfect, but we think we have figured out a good path.
Yeah, I didn't have my VPN set correctly when I first started, and I was in Albania, and the bank was like, no, you're not in Albania. You just got blocked. So then I had to call the bank, and I'm 10 hours, 12 hours ahead of time. It was just complicated. We got to figure it out. It's only happened a couple times. It happened again like 2 weeks later because I didn't learn from my first mistake. I had to do it again. So we have learned along the way. Get that VPN and get it set and leave it turned on.
Well, and most people think, so VPN, once again, that information's below if you want to check into it. But if you have not worked with a VPN much, a lot of people put it on their computer. They just think of their computer. You also want that on your phone. You want to make sure your phone is matching where your computer is at. So when it is sending that code to your phone, it recognizes you're in the same location. So just make sure you have that VPN set up, and that will save you a lot of headaches. The other nice thing is a lot of these companies are also realizing that they need to have other ways for people to authenticate. And so there's an app, there's a Google Authentication app that I know I use for multiple things that we log into. And if you haven't used that before, you're not familiar with it, what it does is it sends a new code. It re-triggers a new code every 30 seconds. So when they ask for that code, you kind of have to be quick. Yeah, get the code, enter the code, because if the code changes by the time that you push enter, it won't be the actual code that you needed. So anyways, there's that. Then a lot of them actually also do through email.
Through email. Yeah, that's usually what I get. It's the email, so it's real easy. We haven't had any problems, really.
No, we think we've kind of figured it out at this point and dialed all of that in. So
now this all sounds a little daunting. Let's be honest. I got to do this with my mail. I need to do this with my phone, my VPN. All these companies are really easy companies to work with. They want you to use their service, so they do make it user-friendly. It's easy to set up.
Yeah. So now this, like we were saying, it does sound daunting, but unfortunately, when you are looking to go travel full-time, there's a lot of those like have-to-dos that have to be done before you can get onto the road.
Right.
But then when you do go and you're on the road and you have done that forefront work to get all of this put into place, it's going to make your time on the road so much more enjoyable and just a lot less stress-free.
Right. Do the legwork beforehand so you don't make the mistakes afterwards.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot harder to do it from another country. Yeah. Okay, well, we hope this was helpful. And like we said, this is part 1 of a 2-part series. So the next part, we are going to be talking about how to start that process of minimalizing your living, right? So downsizing, how to just kind of go through that process, because it's another kind of time consuming, depending how much stuff you have, process to go through.
This process might have more physical labor involved. And there also could be a 3-part series to this 2-part series, based on any other questions that you might have. So if you have other questions, please ask, because we'll get to them. We get to them all the time, every day. We get to your questions, but sometimes it's easier to put it into a video.
All right, we hope this was helpful.
Cheers.
Cheers.